Good morning po, Sir Vincent and Ma'am Marian. May I know who will be the first discussant for today?
It would be me, Doc. Good morning po sa inyo.
Okay. So, you may proceed po. Thank you so much.
Okay. Sige po. FYI, we need a device. Sayang, wala pa sila, ma'am, tsaka si sir. Ayan, good morning po sa inyong lahat. Doc Jewel, Ma'am Tria, Ma'am Buhali, good morning po. To start off, let us put ourselves in the presence of God. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, we thank you for the gift of another day and for the blessings you have continued to shower upon us. Thank you for protecting us, guiding us, and giving us strength even during moments when we feel tired, uncertain, and challenged. We ask you to guide us in our thoughts, words, and actions. Give us wisdom to make good decisions, patience to face difficulties, courage to overcome challenges, and humility to serve others with kindness. Bless us in our work, our students, our colleagues, our families, and to those people who we encountered in day-to-day life. Keep us safe, healthy, and surrounded by your grace. May we be the source of encouragement and positivity to others. Let our actions reflect kindness, integrity, and gratitude. We place this day, our plans, our future, and the people we love in your hands. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, good morning everyone. This is Mr. Vincent Shores, so I'll be discussing all about the individual, dual, and team sports, as you can see from our slide. So I would advise you to prepare your other gadgets. You need a cell phone later on to scan an activity as we go on. Okay. So let's start off with the learning objectives. Can we have Miss Buhali to read number 1 and number 2, and followed by Ma'am Tria for number 3 and number 4.
Our learning objectives by the end of this course, the graduate student will be able to analyze, critically examine the historical development and current trends in selected work, to evaluate official roles, appreciated procedures, and risk modifications. Receive and defensive systems and tactical approaches using performance analytics, applying modern performance analysis to develop effective match strategy.
And thank you for reading out our learning objectives for our lesson for today, Ma'am Tria and Ma'am Buhali. Okay, so to start off, since we are talking about team sports, so I have an activity. So you need your phone or your gadgets to scan this QR. Kindly scan the QR. And then you need to write on a word, English or Filipino, about one word that comes to mind about team. Ayan, thank you for sharing. Collaboration. Doc Jewel, you can join as well. Thank you po. We need more words to pop in our activity. So collaboration is doing an activity or doing different processes with different people or a person. So in general, collaboration would be bigger in sense. Working together. And of course, we need to work together when we are in a team. It's not just you yourself doing an activity, but of course, you will be doing it with someone else in a group, in a team. Unity. Yan. Thank you for sharing. Unity, strength, trust, teamwork, collaboration, communication. Yan. So thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts about team. So there's a lot. Another one, camaraderie. So when we talk about team, we need to go deeper. Okay. Thank you everyone for sharing your ideas about team. Okay, from the acronym team, we will try to give insights. Okay, so I would suggest Ma'am Buhali, you will go for letter E. Ma'am Tria for letter A. And maybe, of course, for Doc Jewel, pwede sir sa mastery. Okay, I will start off with togetherness. Okay, building unity and trust by valuing each member, communicating effectively, and working towards a common goal. So that's my acronym for letter T, togetherness, in which it promotes team bonding, encourage respect, inclusion, develop a sense of belongingness, and unity that leads to success. So in a team, you should be working with a group of people, with a group of team, so that you'll be able to build this trust within your teammates, with your office mate, with your co-workers, or within your family, to be able to have this kind of success in what you are meant to be doing. Your goal in being together as a team. Okay, can we go on with Ma'am Buhali for letter E?
E stands for effort, embracing hard work, determination, and perseverance in training and competitions. Encourage maximum effort and commitment, builds resilience, improves performance, effort today, success tomorrow.
Anything you want to share about effort, Ma'am Buhali?
Okay po. So, sa team po, kailangan po talaga natin na magbigay ng effort or ourselves po yung ahusat natin kasi hindi pwede na yung iba, kasi nga as a team, hindi pwede na sila lang yung kumari po ay nagtitraining, nagbibigay ng kanilang sarili para sa laro na yon. Pero ikaw na halimbawa ay yung isang mong team ay hindi po nagtitraining at gumaling lalo or kaya hindi nakiki-operate sa mga strategy or plan talaga para manalo ang laro. So, hindi nyo ma-achieve yung pagkapanalo or yung hindi magiging success yung laro. So, as a team, kailangan talaga ay may effort ka na at commit. Yung lang sabi dyan na may commitment ka sa sa ah, sa isang laro na sinalian mo. Kasi para ma-achieve nyo yung pagkapanalo. Yun, ganun po sir.
Thank you, Ma'am Buhali, for sharing your thoughts about effort. Next, Ma'am May, for letter A.
Attitude. Developing a positive mindset, sportsmanship, and a willingness to learn from challenges and setbacks. A positive attitude drives team culture, handles pressure with confidence, learn, adapt, and grows. Great attitude, great impact. So, ang idea ko naman po, or my sharing about the attitude is, when it comes in teamwork, kailangan niyo po talaga na first, dapat nagkakasundo kayo, and then meron kayong good approach sa isa't isa. Kasi po, for example, kapag hindi maayos yung treatment natin, hindi maayos yung collaboration natin sa ating kapartner, sa ating kasama sa laro, kapag naiinis tayo or naaasar tayo sa kanya kasi more on fail siya, more on terror, mas lalong magiging hindi maganda yung flow ng laro niya kasi nga nahihindran siya ng way kung paano mo i-address or i-approach yung game niyo. So, ibig sabihin, kung paano ka kumilos, kung paano ka mag-act sa kanya, there's a possibility na ganun din yung i-act niya. And then, yung mga bad attitude and negative behavior is there's nothing good na maibibigay in your play. And aside from that, parang hindi niya ma-achieve yung goal niya to win. And then, sabi dito, positive attitudes drives team culture. Of course, kapag meron kayong positive attitude, meron kayong healthy relationship, meron kayong good communication, and then nagkakasundo kayo. Parang pinilay mo pa lang, ito yung gagawin na, dito ka pupunta, ito yung tactics natin, ito yung strategies, ito yung skills na na-apply natin. And aside from that, sabi dito is it handles pressure. So kapag hindi okay yung ating nakikipag-communicate, napipressure tayo the way kung paano i-act or i-address ng kapartner natin yung scenario na ginagawa natin during the play. And then, ang hirap na makipag-collaborate or makipaglaro kapag yung kapartner natin or yung kasama natin sa laro is hindi din siya nakikipag-cooperate sa atin. Kasi parang, let's say, in badminton, ang sabi mo, atong yung cup area, left side, and then ayun naman yung right side. Ang gusto ng isa is kunin lahat ng buong area, tapos tatayo ka lang. So, meron bang positive attitude on? Wala. So, ibig sabihin, since walang positive attitude, hindi ka nagkakasundo kung saan part ng yung dapat mapunin, kung saan part ng yung dapat yung task mo para sa'yo. Kasi, since teamwork siya, kailangan meron kayong each role sa isa't isa.
Ayan, thank you, Ma'am Tria, for sharing. Napaka-interesting, ha? So, attitude, as you can see from our experiences, hindi ka lang isang coach teacher, no? Dapat yung attitude na invite from inside the court and then outside, sa kapaligiran. So, from classroom, of course, sa bahay din, no? Kailangan din yan yung kailangan na ma-develop yung attitude mo pagdating din sa bahay, dapat na i-share mo rin yung good attitude na tututunan mo sa school. And of course, around your community. Kasi pagka ikaw ay, sabihin na natin player ka, syempre kilala ka nila, uy, si magaling yan na ganitong player. So, parang nagiging model ka. So, dapat maging aware ka rin sa mga sinasabi mo, sa actions mo, sa attitude mo, para alam nila na respeto ka, di ba? Kasi para ka ng tinitingala, lalo na ng mga kabataan. And lastly, Doc, pwede po sa inyo ang mastery.
Okay, good morning again. Thank you, Sir Vincent. So, in regards with mastery, it's important that our student athletes are not too confident enough na alam na nila lahat ng mga bagay-bagay. Sabi nga natin, this, if we will be relating it in a life, there's always room for improvement. Whether you are in the game for so long, it doesn't mean you have already mastered everything. The only thing that is inevitable in this life is change. Definitely, there will come a time that rules will change or be amended. There would be new strategies and approaches to use to create or to make a student athlete on his or her prime in the game. So as much as possible, we are also training them that whatever you do, whatever feats that you have accomplished, or whatever skills you have acquired or mastered, it doesn't mean that's the end of the journey for a student athlete. There will always be another level that will also test their confidence, their ways of dealing with conflicts, or in regards with how they would perceive a opponent in the future. And then it's also important that members of the team would focus as well on improving one another and making those improvements as a collective strategy. Kasi mahirap naman din na one or two of the team members are the only one who's improving, and the other three or four were left behind. Parang they would definitely would just drag them. And then, imbis na mag-push through sila on the things that they are doing, palagi silang nagiging, kumbaga, nagkakameron sila ng kumbaga parang dilemma all the time. Kasi nga, ang madalas lang na nangyayari is that those two who are already improved in some way is the one who's performing, and then the other one, the other team members are being left behind. So, importante din na yung mastery should be instilled as well to our members of the team, lahat sila. Even those reserve player, for example, is like in basketball, for example, or even in volleyball, that whenever time comes and their performance are in need, ready sila, ganda sila, because they know that they have already improved. But kailangan din, hindi naman super overconfident na kaya na namin anong oras man kami ipasok o anong oras man kami naglalaro, kaya na namin. So, mastery is also a key characteristic siguro in some ways sa mga student athletes na mag-focus din sila na habang ako ay nag-i-improve sa aking paglalaro or sa training as much as possible, I am always open for new innovations, new strategies. Parang pag tayo bilang educators, it's important that we make sure that everything that are already obsolete would be eliminated and make sure that new innovations are being taken into much consideration. Thank you, Service. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc Jewel, for sharing your thoughts about mastery. No? Napakalalim, no? Kasi lalo na tayong mga teacher, no? Hindi tayo maging kampante or complacent pagka tayo ay nakagraduate na sa ating bachelors. That's why we are here together in learning this higher education, which is masteral, and then maybe so on, katulad ni Doc na doctor na, ano. So, hindi lang tayo makapaloob dito kung ano yung nalalaman natin, because learning never stops, no? Sabi nga ni Doc, maraming changes, maraming updates, yung mga rules na babago. So, kailangan natin ma-imbibe yung sarili natin for this kind of things kung saan tayo nakapaloob talaga. Sa education, sa sports, sa coaching, ayan, mastery. Paano natin ba maituturo yan? Siyempre, kailangan pag-aralan natin. No? Mag-aral tayo na mag-aral, mag-level up tayo ng coaching, umattend tayo ng mga seminar, symposium, and so on. No? Talk to people who are specializing in a particular sports na gusto natin. No? Manood ka. Uh, Available naman halos karamihan sa online. No? Marami kayong makikita mga resources. So, thank you for sharing about team. So, ayan, medyo broad, no? Very, very broad ang team sports. Ano po? So, let's go on. Okay, the first one we're going to discuss about team sports is, of course, one of the most popular team sports, which is called basketball. So, I know most of you are very much already familiar in basketball. If you have taught basketball, the history, the development, the different skills, the officiating, and so on and so on. Ano? So, medyo mahaba yan pag diniscuss natin. So, I'm just giving you an insight and a video clip for us to be able to give us a roundabout about basketball. Okay, let's start off.
The game of basketball was created in December of 1891 by YMCA gym teacher James Naismith in Springfield, Massachusetts. To create the game, he used a peach basket, a 10-foot pole, and a soccer ball. In 1891, the first ever basketball game was played between Naismith's students. It took quite a while, but a point was eventually scored, and basketball's first ever game concluded with an epic final score of 1-0. James Naismith would adjust the rules of the game over the next 20 years, and the game would continue to evolve. In 1892, dribbling became a legal move. In 1893, the first ever women's collegiate basketball game was played. In 1895, the popularity of basketball spread, and basketball became an established sport that was played through numerous high schools and college universities. By 1901, basketball collegiate competition was taking place all around the United States. As the years went on, Naismith added a backboard and created a leather basketball. In 1906, an iron ring with a woven net was used and replaced peach baskets. In the 1920s, small basketball leagues were forming around the country. Among these groups that formed were the Harlem Globetrotters, whose flashy and entertaining style helped spread basketball's popularity. In 1936, basketball officially became an Olympic sport, with the gold medal game played outside in raining conditions. In 1937, professional basketball established the NBL, meaning the National Basketball League, which became the first official pro basketball league. In 1939, NCAA basketball held their first official championship tournament. In 1946, competition arose for the NBL. The BAA, which means the Basketball Association of America, was established by Walter Brown. The NBL's popularity was slightly greater than the new BAA, but the BAA was quickly on the rise while hosting major basketball games in the Boston Garden and Madison Square Garden. From 1946 to 1949, the two leagues competed intensely to be the top basketball league in America. That was until August of 1949. Leaders of the NBL and the BAA met at the Empire State Building, and the two groups agreed to a merger of both leagues, which became the National Basketball Association, or of course as we know it, the NBA. George Mikan was just beginning his basketball career in the mid-1940s and became the first NBA star in a league that would become all about stars. In 1954, the 24-second shot clock was introduced to the NBA to expedite the game's tempo. In 1956, Bill Russell was drafted by the Boston Celtics, which was the beginning of the NBA's greatest dynasty in history. On March 2, 1962, Wilt Chamberlain had the greatest scoring performance in NBA history, individually scoring 100 points in a single game. In 1970, Oscar Robertson, a legendary NBA player and former president of the NBA Players Association, filed an antitrust lawsuit against the NBA. The suit was settled in 1976, which resulted in the creation of NBA free agency, which allowed player mobility by choice of the players. In In 1976, the NBA and the ABA, which was the American Basketball Association, merged into one league. The NBA treated it as an expansion and absorbed 4 teams from the ABA, increasing the league from 18 to 22 teams. In the 1970s, the league's popularity had taken hits amidst on-court violence and alarming amounts of drug abuse throughout the association. In 1978, Larry Bird was drafted by the Boston Celtics, and in 1979, Magic Johnson was drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers. This sparked the greatest rivalry in NBA history, which led the NBA to record heights of popularity and viewership. And Magic and Bird are now commonly seen as the saviors of the NBA. In 1984, Michael Jordan was drafted by the Chicago Bulls. Michael would be the one to take the torch from Bird and Magic, and Jordan would carry the league to new heights throughout the 1990s. In 1992, the USA Olympic basketball team included NBA players for the first time in Olympic history. Led by Jordan, Magic, and Bird, the Dream Team dominated the Barcelona Summer Olympics, and the team is commonly credited for increasing the NBA's popularity onto a global scale. After Jordan's final retirement in 2003, players like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Tim Duncan, Allen Iverson, and Steph Curry took the torch and have helped the NBA's brand grow into the league we know and love today.
So that discusses about the development of basketball all the way back up till to the present.
The game of basketball was created in December.
Sorry. Next, we go on to the rules of the game. Okay, so those are the rules of the game basketball. So as you can see from the middle column, you have the recent FIBA rule modifications. First one, we have the zone defense clarifications. More precise rules on illegal zone, defense, and defensive positioning. So nag-adjust na sila ng way on how to see this zone defense kasi 'di ba meron tayong man to man tapos meron naman tayong tinatawag na zone defense, no? Staying dun lang sa loob ng shade ng around the shaded area. So, nagkaroon sila ng panibagong rule na ganito. Next, instant replays. So, meron na din tinatawag ay na development in technology using instant replays. No more team timeout rollover. Unused timeout do not carry over to the other to the next quarter. So, kung meron kang hindi nagamit na timeout, hindi mo siya pwedeng i-carry over. No, dapat doon lang sa quarter na yon. Technical foul guidelines, updated criteria for unsportsmanlike conduct and bench behavior. So ngayon medyo strict na pagdating sa mga behavior ng players, especially pagka ikaw ay nagpa-foul. And then shot clock reset clarification. Shot clock resets to 14 seconds after an offensive rebound is done. So dati kasi pag nagre-reset ng shot clock is 24. So ngayon, pag nagre-reset ng shot clock during offensive rebound, it's 14 seconds. So ano ang impact niya ngayon sa basketball? It improves game flow and fairness, enhance accuracy and decision making. Yes, it's true, lalo na paggamit ng instant replays para talagang ma-identify mo kung nakaapak ba sa linya, kung sino yung last touch ng bola, tapos yung sa time, no, minsan yung pagka meron kang last second shot, no, kung yun ba ay pasok or hindi, base doon sa time clock. Encourages sportsmanship and strategic play. Of course, pag naglalaro tayo ng team sports, no, kailangan natin ng strategy para yung ating team ay makapag-perform ng maganda. Ano po? And of course, with that, regardless of the result, sportsmanship is very eminent, no? Para at least mapakita mo sa kabilang team kung kayo ay natalo or nanalo, dapat respeto pa rin. And aligns with modern basketball development and safety. As we progress with our discussion with team sports, makikita natin yung talagang napaka-broad, no, ng pagpasok ng technology to be able to set fairness in game. Ano po? Ayan. Any question po, pag-raise lang po ng hand kung may katanungan po or any additional or clarification po. Okay po. And then next, we now go to the assess offensive and defensive tactical systems using performance analytics. So, ito na ngayon yung medyo parang improvement talaga ng team sports, no? Hindi lang sa basketball as we go on with the other topic. Ito na kailangan talaga ng mata, no? Hindi lang ng mga coaches, meron kang other assistant coaches to see, no? Tapos kailangan nilang i-review, kailangan nilang i-video yung game na yon, kung bakit sila natalo, kung bakit sila nanalo, 'di ba? Kailangan nilang i-review. And then based on the statistics of the players from that game, kailangan yan ma-identify. So here I'm going to show you again another video, the importance of performance analytics or what we call sports analytics.
The average person, when they hear sports analytics, immediately thinks of pop culture references like Moneyball or mock drafts and who's going number one overall, and they'll ask about hirings and firings, but what they're not seeing is what's happening behind the scenes, what led to those decisions. Everywhere from how teams are constructed to how we identify players and forecast their future performance, down to the minutest things of strategy. It is data-driven decision-making. How have sports analytics changed the NBA? So if we think about how sports analytics have impacted the way that we construct teams, it comes down to talent identification. We think about a team that doesn't have a lot of money compared to a team that does. They often got outspent for the top talent, and so they had to figure out which players were the quote-unquote diamonds in the rough. So if we're talking about the NBA, we might look at how tall the player is, what the ratio is of their height to their wingspan. Long arms turns out to be really, really important. And one that's kind of oddly predictive might be hand size. The bigger your hands are, the better you are at playing basketball, the better you are at securing a rebound. And so teams are trying to find every little metric that might help them understand who's likely to be a future all-star. The game of professional basketball has changed a lot due to analytics, and probably the simplest way to see this has to do with the shots that teams are taking. If we go back 20, 30, 40 years, there was a lot of the mid-range game, there was a lot of the one dribble pull-up, there was a lot of the back to the basket basketball that we simply don't see as much of today. What do we see today? We see pace, we see space, we see three-pointers, we see layups, and unfortunately we see a lot of fouls and free throws, but what we've identified is that those shots are the most efficient shots, so seeing lots of changes both on offense and defense just due to simple data analytics. Analytics and player talent goes hand in hand. If you have a great player who buys into these concepts, who comes through and says, hey, I'm willing to perform in a slightly different way to find the slightest edge, I mean, that's really what separates some of those truly great players, is they're always looking for every little piece of information that can help them succeed.
Okay, so when we talk about basketball sports analytics, no, so kailangan dito ng mga data, information, no. So from college ka, no, yung mga games na laro mo during your college days or university days, kailangan yan ma-capture, no. Tinitignan yan ng mga nag-i-scout from NBA teams. Tapos pagka nakita na yung performance mo doon, tapos based on your statistics, based on your records, ayan, kino-compile yan, tapos tinitignan nila yan, no? A-analyze nila, pag-aaralan talaga nila, no? Very much data-driven ang mga sports data analyst para magbigay ng information sa kanilang mga respective NBA coaches or respective NBA scouting team para makakuha sila ng precise information. And then from there, so pagka graduate mo, 'di ba? Magkakaroon ka ng time para makapag-apply ng NBA rookie draft, no? So doon mababase na doon kung sino yung top 1, top 2, top 3, top 4 depending on the NBA team kung sino ang magse-select sa iyo. So syempre, usually yung mga nasa top 5, top 10, sila yung batch na yan, sila yung nasa top tier ng NBA rookie draft for this particular year, no? So meron kayong mga maririnig na sikat na player nung nasa college sila, nasa university sila. So sila ay nag-a-apply diyan sa rookie draft na yan. And then from that rookie draft, kailangan talaga nila makita, ano? So meron tinatawag na NBA G League, no? Kung familiar kayo sa basketball sa NBA, meron tinatawag na G League in which yung particular team na yan, kunwari yung Lakers, meron silang G League na team. Doon pinaglalaro nila yung mga rookie player na kinukuha nila or na-scout nila sa ibang parts around the world, pinaglalaro nila doon para makita nila yung precise, no, yung actual, not just from the data itself, not just from the video highlights itself, no. Hindi lang doon, gusto talaga nilang makita in totality, no, eye to eye, in action, para ma-distinguish nila kasi it's not easy to invest money na kukunin mo si player na ganito dito sa team mo, no. Kaya mahalaga yung mahalaga yung G League na yon for them to magkaroon sila ng first impression na si magaling nga talaga to si player A na to, si player B. Yan, kukunin natin. So, parang nagiging training area nila yon bago sila talaga kunin ng isang NBA team, no? In which halos lahat naman ng NBA teams ay mayroong G League team. Ano po? Parang in preparation for their NBA team. Ayan. Any question po or clarification for basketball before we move on? Ayan, mag-thumbs up lang po or any emoji dyan, heart sign. para alam ko po na kung okay lang tayo mag-move on na. Ayan, salamat po, Ma'am Buhali. Okay, let's now go to the next topic. Okay, another team sports is volleyball. Ayan. So, similar to basketball, ayan, kita nyo naman yung date, no? Marami siyang progression from 1890s until to the present. So, maraming mga changes, no, na nangyari, ang development na kailangan natin makita. How did volleyball grow as well? Same with basketball. Okay, again, I will be showing you another clip for this topic.
If you're anything like me, volleyball was a sport.
Oh, sorry.
If you're anything like me, volleyball was a sport that probably wasn't at the top of your list of your favorites when you were a kid. You were probably always aware of it, but you couldn't name any professional players, and your limited time playing volleyball was on a beach or grass with a shiny net on a family vacation or a school summer. It's a sport with a long tenured history and has grown so much international recognition that it's now considered one of the big 5 international sports. And its main governing body, the FIVB, is the largest international sporting federation in the world. It's seen astronomical growth in the past 2 decades and has generated tons of sporting interest in the Olympics starting in 1964, the Volleyball Nations League, the World Cup, the World Championships, and tons more individual leagues. It's also been the subject of tons of popular culture, including its most famous iteration in Haikyuu. So how did the sport, which didn't even have Olympic representation 60 years ago, become one of the biggest sports in the world with 900 million players? To know that, we have to go back to the beginning. Volleyball was a sport born out of limitations. In fact, it was not even initially called volleyball. Its first name was Mintonette. Mintonette was first created by a man named William G. Morgan in 1895, who at the time was searching for a ball sport for his job as the Director of Physical Education at the Holyoke, Massachusetts YMCA. Morgan wanted a ball sport which was suitable for both the young and the old, since basketball was considered too violent to be suitable for the older generation to play. In his first experiments for a new sport, Morgan is quoted as saying, "In search of an appropriate game, tennis occurred to me, but this required rackets, balls, a net, and other equipment, so it was eliminated. But the idea of a net seemed a good one. Eventually, he commissioned a company known as A.G. Spaulding and Brothers for a new ball to play his sport. The ball was leather-covered, with a rubber inner tube. Eventually, a local demonstration of Mintonette at a university led to a proposition by one of the spectators, Professor Alfred T. Halstead. It was eventually decided that Mintonette would change its name to volleyball. Originally, Mintonette was played with 3 servers and 9 innings to 21 points as a baseball replicant, with no rules regarding back row violations or maximum hits per side. In 1917, this was changed to 3 sets of 15 points, and a 3-meter line and hit limit was introduced as a rule in 1920. A revolution to the sport of volleyball occurred in 1916 in the Philippines, where a new offensive style was created in which the ball was passed at a high trajectory to another player who would jump up and hit the ball downward. These new techniques were named the spike and set movements. A variation of volleyball played on outdoor areas was first introduced in 1930, with its first officialization in 1948, occurring at a small American tournament played at Will Rogers State Beach in Santa Monica, California. This was the first officially recognized beach volleyball competition in the United States. The following year, the first ever Volleyball World Championships took place in Prague, Czechoslovakia, which was won by the Soviet Union, who only dropped 2 sets in 5 matches to win the title. It didn't take long for volleyball's popularity to explode worldwide. Because of its ease of access and lack of equipment needed, it quickly became a popular sport in all corners of the world. By 1964, volleyball had its first feature at the Olympic Games, and where else but Tokyo. Again, the Soviets dominated, dropping only 5 sets in 9 games, with a final record of 8 wins and 1 loss, the only loss coming by the way of the host Japan. Here is what the final standings of the first Olympic volleyball competition looked like. As of 2021, there are 4 international volleyball tournaments currently in circulation. 3 of these are FIVB-sanctioned tournaments, being the FIVB World Cup, the World Championships, and the Volleyball Nations League. The fourth, of course, is the Olympic competition. As far back as 1949 and 1964, Eastern Europe's dominance of the sport was pretty well established. It wasn't until the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles did the United States first achieve a medal in men's indoor volleyball. From which they carried on their strength with multiple medals in 1988, 92, 2008 and 2016. In recent years, Brazil has been an absolute powerhouse nation, with 3 golds and 2 silvers since 1992. Brazil has also won 3 of the last 5 Volleyball World Cups and 3 of the last 5 World Championships. The women's leagues, however, are a completely different story. Much in the same way that women's Olympic sports are less dominated by the Americans as the men's, so too is volleyball. In fact, the United States women's volleyball team has never won a gold medal, ever.
It's out, and the Boskovic has won it for Serbia.
The gold medal match, and that was East Germany, who won silver in Moscow in 1980. Interestingly, Italy has never even placed in the top 4 in women's Olympic volleyball standings, but has won 2 World Cups in 2007 and 2011. The game of volleyball that we all love to watch and play today is similar to how the game was played 25 years ago, but not exactly the same. Here are some interesting rule changes that have occurred in the last 25 years. It wasn't until 1997 that players were able to go to the other side of the net to retrieve an error pass. The whole libero position wasn't even invented until 1998 and wasn't officially played until the 2000 Sydney Olympics.
I think Eric was teaching us that stuff before. He gets a fantastic job there.
Also in 1998 was the introduction of the 25-point set rule, where it was also established that points were given based on whoever won the point. This might sound a bit strange, but before that, points were only added to your team's total if you were the serving team.
And so that concludes the development and history of volleyball. Okay, let's now go to the rules.
It explains the rules of volleyball. The object of the game is for your team to win 3 sets faster than the opposing team. Teams are made up of 12 players, with 6 players taking to the court at any one time. They consist of a libero and 2 setters in the back row, and a left side, right side, and middle hitters in the front row. To win a set, you must score 25 points and be at least 2 points ahead. If the scores are 25-24, for example, the game carries on until one team has a 2-point lead. Sounds easy, so how do I score these points? To score a point, you must aim to hit the ball over the net and onto your opponent's court. The court is 18 metres long and 9 metres wide, and the area you're aiming for is 9 metres by 9 metres. There is an attack line 3 metres away from the net. The net is 8 feet above the ground for men and 7 foot 4 inches above the ground for women. If the ball is hit onto the lines, this also counts as a point. Hitting the ball over the net onto the floor to win points sounds easy enough, but in volleyball, your team is only allowed up to 3 touches of the ball. The first touch is known as the pass of the bump. This is usually to control an attack from your opponents. The second touch is known as a set, and is a setup so that an attacking player can make the final shot. The third touch is known as an attack or a spike. This usually is an attacking shot over the net aimed at your opponent's court. A team can opt to take less than 3 touches if they want to, and the game is a back and forth affair with both teams setting up the ball and attacking each other's court. In the sport of volleyball, however, it's very easy to lose points. There's a lot of things you can't do in volleyball. You cannot hit the ball onto the ground outside the area of play. You cannot hit the ball twice in succession. You cannot catch or throw the ball. You cannot step over the line during a serve. You cannot touch the net or run under the net. You cannot hit the ball into the antennas of the net. And as earlier mentioned, you cannot touch the ball more than 3 times. All of these errors result in your opponent being awarded a point and the next serve. Once your team has won a point, all players must rotate clockwise to stand in a new position. Once a team has won 25 points and is at least 2 points ahead, they win a set. The team that wins 3 sets first wins. If both teams have won 2 sets each, the fifth and last set only goes to 15 points. That's basically volleyball in a nutshell, but there's a few other things you'll need to understand before playing or going to a game. For example, block. When an attack is imminent, a defender can jump in the air and try and stop the attack reaching the floor. You're not allowed to reach over the net, but the advantage is that a block does not count towards your 3 touches should the ball end up on your side of the court. Dig. A dig is a play to stop the ball hitting the ground after an attack. Players will usually dive onto the floor to rescue a ball, and unlike blocks, a dig does count towards one of your 3 touches. Libero. A libero is a defensive specialist who can come on at any time in place of any back row player. A libero wears a different coloured jersey to the rest of the team and is usually the most agile player on the team. Their job is to rescue imminent attacks by performing spectacular digs. However, a libero cannot serve the ball, a libero cannot make an attacking shot above the net, and a libero cannot step over the attack line. Substitution. During a stoppage in play, a team can substitute up to 6 players per set. To do this, they must inform the officials who will count the substitutions. Players re-entering must assume the same position they came out from. The libero can be substituted an unlimited amount of times, and only 1 player can be substituted at any time.
Okay, so those are the rules for volleyball. So again, here are the different ideas with the rules of the FIVB as discussed from the video. Okay, so just recently this 2026 Volleyball Nations League, there were experimental rules that is being implemented for the FIVB to take effect maybe in the next Olympics. So that's why this particular new rules in volleyball was been shown and officiated in that VNL League this 2026 for them to be able to see how does it feel of this new rule, how will the players, the referee, the officials, the fans, the viewers will react on this particular new rules sa volleyball. Isa na rito is yung substitution in which each team is allowed unlimited substitution, and then the libero itself was also improved. Pwede na siyang mag-set sa front row, and then pwede na rin siyang mag-spike. Ano po? Those are the experimental rules. So hindi pa natin siya nakikita or na-implement in totality just in a Volleyball Nations League para makita ng mga official how these new rules will take effect in the next upcoming Olympics. Any question po for volleyball? Okay. Let's move on.
The game of volleyball is faster and more intense than ever before. With so much riding on every point, we need to ensure that we're getting the greatest possible percentage of decisions correct. Especially the important.
So here's now the new technology that is being used for volleyball.
A major difference in a set. It is, after all, half the difference required to win a set. CEV is committed to using new technology to assist the referees in the decision-making process in order to make the game absolutely fair to the athlete's actions. Challenge systems in volleyball give teams the opportunity to check a referee's decision and referees themselves the chance to confirm a decision if they are unsure.
The video challenge system we have uses 15 cameras. It takes up to 2 hours to set up. During the match, we have 2 people in our crew. One operated on the software with a challenge referee, and one is to prepare challenge report and fix any hardware issues. For example, when the ball hits a camera.
Teams are entitled to request challenges during play each time they believe that a fault has taken place which was not called by the referees, or at the end of the rally when they would like to ask a review of the referee's decision concerning the last action in that rally. When after a rally, they have 8 seconds to make their challenge. Teams are only allowed 2 unsuccessful challenges per set. After that, they are not allowed to challenge any more for the duration of that set.
challenge referee is very important during the match, and all challenge video check is very important for the teams, very important for the referees also, and especially for the end of the set, end of the match during the crucial points. That's why we have to pay attention about it.
There are 6 different things that can be challenged. Number 1, ball in or out on both the side and end lines. Number 2, touch. That is when the ball touches a player or not. Number 3, net fault. When a player makes contact with the net between the 2 antennae. Number 4, antennae touch. When either the ball or a player touches the antennae or not. Foot fault. In 3 different places. Number 1, on the service line. Number 2, on the 3-meter attack line. And number 3, whether they cross the center line with their foot or feet. And the 6th and final challenge is whether the ball touches the floor or not. Teams make a challenge using their tablet, the same tablet that they use for making substitutions and requesting timeouts. The decision-making process is quite simple. The moment in question is found and reviewed by the challenge referee as quickly as possible. If the footage is inconclusive, then we stick with the original decision of the referees. The challenge system provides an important role to the spectator experience. That's why it's important that we get it right. And it also brings some added dimension to our game of volleyball.
In my referee life, I have a crucial point when we
Ayan. So, technology nowadays plays a vital part in any sports. Is not just volleyball, no? Basketball and so on. Later on, we will discuss also about football. So, meron na tayong mga technology na or apparatus na kailangan gamitin for us to decisively officiate any game, no, in fairness. Ano kasi it's not always that humans are able to see this kind of very fast movement of an object touching the line, touching the equipments, and so on. So this helps sports officiating at present and the years to come. Yan. Thank you po. And then next, we go to the evaluate the advanced offensive and defensive system in volleyball. So again, I'll be showing another clip for everyone to see how does this defensive and offensive tactics happens during game match, in which you try to study the video from your previous game and see where does your team needs improvement or lapses, no? Kung okay naman yung nagawa ng team, ano pang kailangan pang improve, no? It's always improving, no? Doing better what you did last time regardless of the result. Okay, so yung nakita po natin is the different ways on how to develop this particular skills, no? Napaka-importante nito. So during the training session with your players, with your student athletes, no, kailangan din nilang ma-experience ito, no? A lot of repetition, a lot of times for them to be able to master this, no? These particular skills like blocking, serving, hitting the ball from offset, no, from the proper set, and then if you're not the setter, and so on, so on. Ano po? Any question po regarding volleyball po? So that we can move on to the next one. Thumbs up lang po kung okay na. Hearty. Nandyan pa po ba kayo? Salamat, salamat. Okay. Okay, let's go on. Okay. Team sports number 3. Ito, medyo madami sila. We have the football, futsal. Football, futsal, magkapatid ya. Magpinsan pala, magpinsan sila. And then rugby. Ayan, kasi si futsal ay nanggaling siya kay Pinsan Football. Ayan po, ano? So, let's see. Let's dive in. Let's start with the football.
Few sports have captured the hearts of millions of fans worldwide, quite like football. Also known as soccer in some regions, this sport is a global phenomenon crossing borders, languages, and cultures. But where did it all begin? How did a single game of kicking a ball morph into a sport with billions of fans, awe-inspiring legends, and an impact that reaches far beyond the field? In this video, we'll answer those questions and more, diving into football's history. Keep watching to learn about football and how it evolved from its early origins to its modern fame. Football's origin story. The story of football begins long before FIFA, Fédération Internationale de Football Association, which translates to International Federation of Association Football in English, and World Cups. Thousands of years ago, many ancient civilizations had their version of ball games, some of which laid the groundwork for the sport we know today, although they may not be the direct origin of the game. During the Han Dynasty, 206 BCE to 220 CE, a game called Cujo emerged in China. Played with a leather ball stuffed with feathers, the goal of the game was to kick the ball into a small net, similar to modern football or soccer. Cujo was so popular that it was even part of military training. Similarly, the Greeks and Romans played games involving balls, often during festivities or military exercises. The Roman ball game Harpastum emphasized strategy and teamwork, traits that echo in modern football tactics. Even the indigenous peoples of Mesoamerica played a ball game. However, theirs had religious significance and involved a heavier rubber ball. While these games differed from today's football, the concept of a communal competitive sport united them. These games may have all contributed to football in later times, But football as we know it can most closely be traced back to medieval Europe. Football in the medieval era. The roots of modern football began to take shape in medieval Europe. Known as mob football, the game was a chaotic affair played between neighboring villages. It is widely believed to be the direct ancestor of all modern football codes. There are few rules, and the matches could last for hours. The game's object was simple: to carry an inflated pigskin ball to the goal, often at the end of the opponent's town. The only rule was that murder and manslaughter were not allowed, hinting at the frequently violent nature of the game. Goals were sometimes miles apart, and the number of players was limitless. The game was so disruptive that authorities in England banned it multiple times. In 1314, King Edward II declared that football distracted men from archery practice, a mandatory occupation for every Englishman for much of the Middle Ages, because it was essential for national defense. He imposed a ban on the sport. After the law was passed, more than 30 bans in England alone were passed between 1314 and 1667. King Richard II also tried to outlaw the sport in 1389, as did Henry IV in 1401. However, not all rulers tried to dissuade their citizens from playing football. King James I instructed Christians to play football or lawful sports every Sunday afternoon after worship, possibly to offset the strictness of Puritans regarding the keeping of the Sabbath. As a result of the destruction and disorderly conduct that came with playing football in the streets, many authorities and churches tried to suppress the sport. The mayor of York fined 11 players 20 shillings each when their game resulted in a smashed church window in 1659. In retaliation for this punishment, over 100 armed men broke into the mayor's house in protest. The ringleader was fined £10, a huge sum of money at the time. In the 17th century, civic authorities in London, Manchester, Grimsby, and Clitheroe banned mob football in the streets, fearing broken windows and riots. Despite these bans, the game endured. It was a pastime for commoners, a rough-and-tumble sport that embodied a spirit of community and rivalry. In 1818, a law was passed banning street football once and for all, but it was largely ignored until 1827, when the Duke of Northumberland provided a field for the game to be played on legitimately. In addition to inspiring a worldwide sport, mob football lives on in a match played annually for 2 straight days in the streets of Ashburn, Derbyshire in the UK. The rules have evolved beyond just prohibiting murder and manslaughter, and now exclude the use of motor vehicles, hiding the ball, and carrying the ball through cemeteries or town memorial gardens. Unlike traditional football matches, both teams try to move the ball toward their own goal. A goal is scored by tapping the ball 3 times on the team's own designated goal area. The beginning of modern football. The turning point for football as we know it came in the 19th century with the rise of industrialization and urbanization. As cities grew, so did the need for organized leisure activities. Schools like Eton, Harrow, and Rugby developed their versions of football, each with its own rules. Some allowed limited handling of the ball, and others did not. This variance made it difficult for public schoolboys to play once they entered university, unless they were with former schoolmates who had learned the same rules. As early as 1842, the University of Cambridge attempted to standardize the rules of play, and the students who played by these rules spread them to football clubs once they graduated. However, there was still no universal set of rules for the game. In 1863, the Football Association, or FA, was established in England, creating the first standardized game rules. This moment marked the birth of modern football, although it still had a long way to go before it reached the monumental place in society it holds now. A pivotal decision in the new rules was to ban the use of hands, which led to the split between football and rugby. This divergence allowed football to evolve into the precise, skillful game we recognize today. In 1871, 15 Football Association clubs accepted an invitation to enter a cup competition and contributed to purchasing a trophy. By 1877, the associations of Great Britain had agreed upon a uniform code, and 43 clubs were competing. As industrialization and urbanization continued to progress in Victorian Britain, the working-class citizens in Britain's industrial towns and cities gradually lost their old pastoral or rural pastimes like badger baiting, and sought fresh forms of leisure that fit into a more urban environment. From the 1850s onward, industrial workers were increasingly likely to have Saturday afternoons off work, and many turned to playing and watching the newly established game of football. Urban institutions like churches, trade unions, and schools organized working-class boys and men into recreational football teams. Rising adult literacy spurred press coverage of organized sports, while developing transport systems like railways or urban trams enabled players and spectators to travel longer distances to football games. Leading clubs began charging admission fees for spectators in the early 1870s and paying their players wages, which was illegal at the time. This practice eventually became so common that the FA sanctioned it in 1884, despite its initial attempts to restrict professionalism and even expel clubs for using professional players. This professionalism sparked even more growth in the game. Football goes global. By the late 19th century, football had spread across Europe and beyond and needed international organization. British sailors, traders, and soldiers introduced the game to new territories, where it quickly took root. In 1904, a solution was found to establish an international organization of the sport. Representatives from football associations of Belgium, Denmark, France, the Netherlands, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland founded FIFA to oversee international competition. The first international match was played in 1872 between Scotland and England, setting the stage for global rivalries. Although it was played before FIFA was founded, it is recognized as the first international football game. One of the most significant milestones for football came in 1930 with the inaugural FIFA World Cup held in Uruguay. 13 teams entered the tournament, but only a handful of European teams chose to participate because of how difficult it was to travel to South America. The competing teams were divided into 4 groups, with the winner of each group moving on to the semifinals. The 2 winners of the semifinals moved on to the finals. In the first FIFA World Cup, Uruguay defeated Argentina 4-2 in the first of many World Cups. Despite the logistical challenges and lack of participation from European teams, the tournament was a success, cementing football's role as a global sport. Iconic moments and legendary players. The 20th century saw football become a symbol of unity, pride, and sometimes even a reflection of political struggle. It even saw its first superstars, and may have been.
Okay, so that give us more about the evolution of football. Okay. May katanungan po? Sabi lang po. Okay, so next is analyzing FIFA and World Rugby rules and officiating system. So, in the first column, we have the FIFA. Second column, World Rugby. FIFA rules, 11 players per side, while the World Rugby, 15 players per side. FIFA played in 90 minutes, while Rugby played in 80 minutes. And two halves for FIFA, 45 minutes, and 2 halves also for Rugby, 40 minutes. Offside, fouls, and restarts promote fair play for FIFA football, and forward pass rules, contact and ruck or maul loss for Rugby. VAR or video assistant referee supports major decision. TMO for Rugby, television match official assist key decisions. So later on, I will show you this technology. Referee team, 1 referee, 2 assistant referee, and 4th official for VAR team. And for Rugby, we have 1 referee, 2 assistant referee, TMO, in goal judges. So it has almost the same principles for officiating system. So this officiating system, which helps to consistently call for decision making. Next, for game management and player safety. Next, communication and teamwork. Use of technology to enhance accuracy. So as you can see from basketball to volleyball, similar with FIFA, Rugby, they have also this technology for better officiating. Respect and spirit of the game. And next, we now go to the technology being used in World Cup just recently, this World Cup, no, kung nanood po kayo ng World Cup in which Spain won versus Argentina. So ito na po yung technology na ginagamit ngayon. Ano? We have number one, we have the VAR, no, na diniscuss ko a while ago. It is called the Video Assistant Referee. Ano po? So when something is being called upon, the referee would verify it from the video replay. Makikita nyo po mamaya yan. And then the goal line technology. Ayan, this uses different cameras in different angles. Similar to volleyball na nakita nyo rin kanina. And then you have number 3, you have the electronic performance tracking system. In which, yung bola na yan na nakikita ninyo, meron niyang chip sa loob. Ano, parang meron siyang RFID para matrack yung movement. It's not just the ball, but also later on you will see the players itself. Okay, so let's check this one para mas maintindihan po natin. Tactics while doing video replay. So ayan ang technology na it helps these sports, not just football and other sports, to precisely help the officiating system, no, para magkaroon ng fairness, ano po, and then also identify players na medyo mababa ang medyo tumataas ang heart rate, no, hindi kailangan na ma-check. Tapos pagka nagkaroon ng injury, no, kung kailangan na ng support from medical staff, ano po. So this is very helpful nowadays in any sports, not just team sports, no, in any sports na in which pwede nilang magamit ito or pwede nilang ma-pattern, no, from the different sports na nakikita natin. Ano po? And then next, we go to the last pala to is the evaluate the tactical principles and match strategies using modern performance analysis. So kung nakita nyo yung kanina, no, yung GLT tsaka EPTS, ito yung gamit niya pagdating dito sa evaluation ng sports performance or game analysis para magkaroon pa ng more information yung mga coaches, coaching staff to be able to play the game better with their team.
How do you tactically analyse a football match? Well, the game is split into 4 phases: in possession, out of possession, attacking transitions and defensive transitions, and we use these 4 phases as a guideline to analyse any team, as well as set plays. In part 1 of 3, we're going to be covering the in possession phase. In possession, the pitch is broken down into 3 zones: build up, progression and finishing. When the team builds up from their own defensive third, focus on their positional structure and how they attempt to move the ball forward. In modern football, teams often use short passes to draw the opposition out, aiming to exploit spaces that open up between the lines or beyond. Observing specific movements or patterns of play can help you understand the team's tactical objectives, but even more important is understanding their principles of play. A common build-up principle used by many teams is to maintain a +1 overload in the first line. For example, if the opposition press with 1 forward, the team will build up with 2 players, or if the opposition press with 2 forwards, they'll build up with 3 players. This allows the team to create a numerical advantage and maintain control in the first line. In the progression phase, which focuses on moving the ball from the middle third to the attacking third, teams look to break lines and disrupt the opposition's defensive structure. One key aspect to observe are positional or structural rotations. Teams often rely on precise passing sequences and well-timed off-the-ball movements to create gaps between or beyond the opposition's defensive line, aiming to reach the attacking players in pockets of space or space created in behind the defence. The fundamental principle used in the progression phase is the use of vertical or diagonal passes to bypass the opposition's midfield line. Teams often position players between the lines on the half-turn, ready to receive the ball and face forwards, making it easier to transition the ball into attacking zones. By identifying these movements and patterns, you can better understand the team's intent to progress play forwards. In the finishing phase, where the focus shifts to generating and capitalising on goal-scoring chances in the final third, teams rely heavily on coordinated movements, quick decision-making and tactical flexibility. But attacking styles can vary, from quick and intricate combination play to a more direct style with lots of crosses and runners into the box. So identifying the team's attacking style is important, but also identifying individual traits is key. Does the fullback overlap? Does the midfielder arrive late for cutbacks, or does the winger enjoy cutting inside and crossing? So to summarise what we're looking to analyse during the in-possession phase, in build-up, we want to identify team shape, structure and any key principles. During the progression phase, we want to know any positional or structural rotations and how a team progress the ball into the final third. More specifically, do they play around, through or over the defensive block? And in the finishing phase, we want to identify a team's attacking intentions from short to direct play, noting any frequently used coordinated movements, as well as analysing key traits and qualities of individual players. In part 2, we'll be covering how to analyse a team from an out-position.
Okay, for football, okay, let's just say team sports. As a coach, no, I don't just depend my call, my play by myself. I also consult it with my assistant coach or kung meron ka pang another assistant coach, no? Kasi mas maraming idea, mas maganda yung kalalabasan, no? You can vote out which play or which tactics is better for this particular game kasi hindi naman lahat ng tactics na gagamitin mo gagamitin mo lahat yan all throughout. Depende yan sa kalaban mo. Kasi meron tayong mga medyo malakas na kalaban, medyo tama lang, medyo mababa yung kanilang skill level, no? Dinidepende natin yan, no? As a coach, dinidepende ko yan sa sino mga kalaban natin, Tapos kung medyo mid-level yung mga kalaban, no? I try to infuse our new players, no? Para magkaroon pa sila ng mas magandang experience, no? Give them playing time. Tapos pag medyo malakas yung kalaban, no? Nasa former champion, sila yung nag-champion last year or few years ago, kailangan dyan yung mga first 5 mo or first 6 players, no, depende kung ano sports, first 6 sa volleyball, first 5 sa basketball. Sila yung talagang pang diinan mo, yung panglaban mo. And infusing different play time for the others to play. So this kind of analytics na nakikita natin is very much important nowadays. Talagang pinag-aaralan ngayon itong mga ways on how the other team plays, how do they behave, ano bang kalakasan nila, no? Kung malakas ba silang pumalo, no? So kailangan natin sa volleyball malakas silang pumalo. So sa side natin, ano bang katapat ng malakas na palo? Of course, blocking, defense. Defense is very important when the other team is very strong in hitting the ball. So we as a coach, you always counter what is their strength. Kung magaling sila mag-service kasi puro sila nag-jump serve, so a good service receive is important, no? Kailangan meron kang pang-counter lagi para mapigilan yung momentum nila na makascore. Ano po? Ayan, any question po? So, this usually ends our presentation. Ayan, so before we end, again, I have a recap game for everyone. Ano po? Okay, please ready your device. Ayan, so this game is, mamimili lang naman kayo kung anong sport. Yung iba kasing sports like nung futsal tsaka rugby, hindi siya masyadong na-discuss. So just go on na lang po. You need the device, scan the QR code, enter your name, and then click join and wait for it for you to connect. Ano po? So dito tayo sa number 2. Guess the sport. Ayan. Ready na po ba ang device nyo? So mamimili lang po kayo kung basketball, football, futsal, rugby, or volleyball. Ano po? Kung ano po yung ipa-flash dyan sa device po ninyo. Okay. Let's start off. Yan, scan lang po. Scan the QR code. Type your name. Para makita po natin dito. Ayan, si Marian nandito na. Si Kat. Oy, si Doc nandito rin. Thank you, Doc, for joining us. Okay, ready na kayo? Okay, let's start. Enjoy lang po Huwag niyo masyadong seryosohin. Kasayahan lang bago mag-end ng ating discussion. Ayan, ready? Check your device. Ayan na. Ayan, lagay niyo lang po siya kung nasaan siya. Pag hindi nyo alam, pwede pong manghula. Yan, meron tayong 90 seconds. Take your time. Pwede nyo pong i-review. Yan, 45 seconds to go. Enjoy lang po. Thank you everyone for your time. Ten seconds to go. Okay. Ayan. Let's see the result. Bakit nawala? Yun. Oh, bakit si Sir Jewel lang ang ano? Anong nangyari kay Ma'am Marian Ma'am Kat?
Hindi po kami natapos kasi hindi ko nasakit.
Ay, nako. Ayun, kaya hindi pala pumasok dito. Okay lang po yan. Walang problema po. Ayan, at least nakita po natin kung papaano siya. Ayan, thank you, Doc. Ay, nag-top pala. Perfect score. Congrats, Doc. Ayan. So, to end my presentation, I have here, siguro nakita nyo na to, I would comment this one, teamwork inspire all boundaries. Yan, so this is the game kung saan nanalo si Alex Yala, no? So kung mapapansin nyo, madami tayong mga kababayan na nanood dyan sa Toronto, Canada to cheer her. So either way, ito ay individual sports, yung tennis, no, kung saan siya naglalaro. Pero makikita ninyo, mafe-feel ninyo na pag naglalaro ang isang kabayan natin sa ibang bansa, no, yung teamwork, yung team na i-imbibe sa atin is very much present, very much supportive. So yung team, hindi lang yung coach, hindi lang yung kakampi mo, hindi lang yung assistant coach, hindi lang yung medical staff, but the crowd itself. No? Yung crowd. Kasi kung maglalaro ka diyan tapos wala kang fans or walang mag-cheer sa iyo, no, parang parang nakakaalangan maglaro. Pero pagka meron kang mga kababayan, meron kang mga fans na nag-cheer sa iyo, no, cheering you up, it would greatly help in your performance, no? Kaya siguro nakaabot or nanalo si Alex Yala, no? Sa pedestal na to kung nasaan siya ngayon, no? She's very young, 21 years old. She's been doing this, doing that, playing here, playing there, no? Even though na hindi naman lahat lagi na nanalo siya, no, it helps her commitment to the tennis, no? Kasi diyan siya talaga train, diyan siya talaga lumaki, nag-aral pa siya sa ibang bansa para makakuha pa siya ng different skills niya. So, she's very promising, no? Natin because she's still 21. So, the team itself around the world, kung nasaan man siya naglalaro, talagang very supportive ang mga kabayan natin. So, the teamwork doesn't only encompasses what's inside the court, also those who are watching and those who are also watching from different social media to give her love, to give her support. So that ends my discussion all about team sports. Ayan. Thank you po. Kung meron po kayong questions or anything you want to add on, very much welcome po.
Thanks for that comprehensive and interactive discussion. Sports, direction to basketball, volleyball, futsal, and soccer. Does the group have any question or clarification related to what they're
Doc, choppy ka, Doc.
Hello.
Choppy ka po. Ayan, okay na. Okay na po.
Does anyone has for clarifications? If not, I have no one answer. So, in relation to what Sir Vincent discussed, he also showed us some students in the cooperation with how to share or how a coach and a referee would assist with, for example, virtual in relation to that, don't think that the next time you're ready to begin artificial intelligence also dealing with so tools. So ano kaya kalaki? Gaano kaya kalaki ang